Hi, welcome to Miss Richardson's U.S. History 5-Minute Lectures. This information will be U.S. Notes 1.18, the election of 1912. It includes information aligned with the third section of your study guide. Remember, you control the lecture. Pause the video if you need, write down any questions you have and bring those to class, and rewatch as often as you need. And remember, always use your study guide. Let's go ahead and get started. In the last notes, I talked about Teddy Roosevelt and his contributions to the country. After 7 years in the presidency, in 1908, Roosevelt decided it was time for him to step aside and allow someone else to take the reins of the U.S. His choice was his vice president, William Howard Taft. Taft was easily elected and continued many of Roosevelt's policies. Sadly, Roosevelt felt Taft did not push for enough change, and in 1912, Roosevelt requested that he, not Taft, be the Republican candidate for president. The Republican Party denied Roosevelt's request. They felt Taft had done well, he had public support, and they believed they could win another term. Roosevelt was livid and decided to run anyway. Roosevelt actually created a new party with this. He created the Progressive Party. It's often called the Bull Moose Party because the mascot of the party was a large bull moose. Roosevelt was the figurehead of the party. This third party had a profound effect on the election of 1912. Due to Roosevelt's new party, there were 3 major parties in the 1912 election: the Republican Taft, the Democrat Wilson, and the Progressive Roosevelt. Roosevelt was a dynamic personality, drawing many Republican voters who had supported him for 2 terms. This meant these votes were pulled from Taft, a much less dynamic man. Wilson, the Democrat, appealed to a different set of voters than Taft and Roosevelt. This meant that his votes were not overly affected by the third party. Of the 3 parties, Wilson won 42% of the vote, Roosevelt 27%, and Taft got a mere 23%. If, as it's assumed by most historians, Roosevelt pulled voters from Taft, without Roosevelt in the running, Taft would have won 50% of the vote. Instead, Wilson, the Democrat, became the new U.S. president. You can clearly see the role of a third party in changing the election outcomes in this scenario. Wilson was also a progressive, focusing mainly on economic reforms, and later passing both the Prohibition and suffrage amendments. While not as active as Roosevelt, the country continued towards a focus of change and a better society under Wilson. So this is the end of U.S. Notes 1.18. Hopefully you learned a little something in this 5-minute lecture, and I will see you in class with any questions you have.